This is a Fox News alert. North Korea has fired off another missile. It headed toward Japan. The Japanese government is saying it went over Japan into the Pacific. Let's go live now to senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palkot in Seoul, South Korea right now. Greg.
Brett, we're getting the information from a variety of sources. It appears that this projectile, this missile launched from the area around Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, just a little bit before 7 a.m. local time here in the Korean Peninsula. That would be about a half an hour ago. It then flew eastwards, and by all accounts, it crossed the Sea of Japan, and it crossed the Hokkaido Island, the northern island in the archipelago of Japan, and apparently went further through into the Pacific Ocean. Now, this is the second time that this sort of trajectory has occurred with missiles coming from North Korea in recent weeks. It has alarmed Japan. It has called individuals, citizens, to go to shelters. We have seen that happen before in the last blast. We do not know whether this is an intermediate blast, whether it is an intercontinental ballistic missile. There was some speculation that a flattened trajectory launch could be made from North Korea. Once again, it would have to fly over Japan to reach its goal. If it was this flattened trajectory launching of a missile, then it could go deeper into the Pacific. We're waiting on that now. Of course, all of this is happening while North Korea very busy with its own rhetoric, its own talking, not just about the United States, but in fact about Japan during the day. Let's take a listen to what's been said today.
Kim Jong-un's regime did launch more rhetoric. In the wake of the latest UN sanctions, state media is saying Pyongyang ought to use its nuclear weapons to reduce the U.S. to ashes and darkness. And U.S. ally Japan should be sunken into the sea. Japanese Prime Minister Abe, on a visit to India, stood his ground.
The whole of the international community must fully implement the recently adopted United Nations Security Council resolution and force North Korea to change its policy.
Secretary of State Tillerson in London, meeting with UK Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson and others, also promoted the UN resolution. Additionally, he called on North Korea ally China to do more.
I am hopeful that China, as a great country, a world power, will decide on their own and will take it upon themselves to use that very powerful tool of oil supply to persuade North Korea to reconsider its current path towards weapons development.
Back in Seoul, some are more pessimistic about the prospect of reining in the North Korean regime.
I don't think, unfortunately, there is any way to stop them now.
No way.
No way.
Leading North Korea analyst Andrei Lankov thinks that the North will resist sanctions and will only come to the negotiating table to freeze its nukes in exchange for concessions.
They want to get to the point when they have a sufficient number of their intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of destroying a sufficient number of the American cities.
Again, analyst Lankov talking about North Korea building up an arsenal of intercontinental ballistic missiles that could hit the United States. We don't know exactly what this missile was that was launched from Pyongyang in the direction of Japan over that into the Pacific Ocean, but certainly it is a part of this ongoing, very active missile testing program that we have seen from North Korea, coupled with a test a short while ago of a nuclear device, and it is an arsenal that now is beginning to be reckoned with. Brett.
You know, Greg, the last missile test was late August, and it was classified as an intermediate-range ballistic missile flying over Japan. Actually, that same area, that island you mentioned, Hokkaido Island, and there were U.S. Marines training on that island at the time when that missile flew over. They were not in danger, we're told by the Pentagon. I want to ask you about South Korea's reaction to all of this, and if their response has changed in recent days as North Korea has become more aggressive.
Japan and South Korea have become more aggressive towards this. We heard from Japanese Prime Minister Abe today demanding that the recent UN Security Council resolution be implemented, criticizing some very strong rhetoric that we had just heard, talking about Japan being sunk into the sea this morning on state media in North Korea. Maybe a hint of what was to come just about 24 hours later. Japan getting tougher, South Korea getting tougher. We've been watching the government here much more saber rattling, much more military exercises. They realize they have a regional defense issue that they're dealing with, just as the U.S. deals with a longer range threat, Brett.
Greg Palkot, live in South Korea on this breaking news of a North Korean missile launch. Greg, as always, thank you.